Hello, folks. How we doing? We're rolling. I'd like to do another book today, a book review today, and that book is this one. It's called Land, Livestock and Life: A Grazier's Guide to Finance, and that's by Allan Nation. For those of you that don't know, Allan Nation runs the Stockman Grass Farmer, which is a great publication for grass-fed livestock operators, grass-fed beef, goats. They talk about dairy. They talk about a lot of different things, pork sometimes, chickens even now and again. The Stockman Grass Farmer is a great publication. But this book really focuses on some more details of some of the topics that they discuss in that publication. So that's what this book is about: land, livestock, and life. It's really all-encompassing. The all-encompassing theme is financial, about finances. And if you're a new farmer, this is a great book for you. I would highly recommend this book. If you're someone that's thinking about becoming a farmer, pick up this book. If you are someone that has been farming or ranching for 50 years, I would recommend you pick up this book because there's some insightful things in there, and gaining a different perspective and new knowledge isn't always a bad thing. Let's get into it. The first section is about land. So the first thing he talks about is the basic rules of the game, finance. So he talks about financing land. That's a good chapter. He talks about real estate, formerly known as farmland. I like that connection that he made. He talks about the relationship between land and livestock, leased land and custom grazing, the ultimate, being paid to graze, which is a pretty cool chapter. Farming to preserve land, real estate. It always doesn't go up in price, and that's a personal story. So if you always think real estate's going to go up, read this chapter. And then there's a few real-world examples in this. So, I mean, that first chapter is already worth buying this book. That's how much diversity that you've already seen that's in this book already. So, you know, it's really good for young people like myself to take advice from older folks that have more experience in life. That's how we learn. That's how knowledge is passed down. And this is a great example of that. This book is a really good example of some practical, real-world knowledge that, you know, could potentially save you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. The next section is livestock. Livestock. You can pause that if you want. Check that out. Livestock cycles and how to ride them. This is really good for someone like me who had no previous experience getting into agriculture, so I didn't really know of the cycles. There are boom and bust type cycles in agriculture, and that's really more, it's relevant to you, but it's more of a commodity type mindset that drives these prices, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, if you're producing any type of livestock for market, you definitely want to read this chapter and read it again. There's lag in the cycles. He talks about good depreciation versus bad depreciation, so that is really interesting, and that's on page 75. Crisis marketing. That's really insightful. I knew I wanted to talk about crisis marketing, so let me flip to this page here. So yeah, he talks about, it says crisis marketing, but he talks about crisis management. And he talks about building up a feed inventory, and by feed inventory, he means grass on your land. Building up a stockpile is also what you could call it. And then also check to make sure you have cash reserves. This is very practical. So you have a feed reserve. It's not necessarily hay in the barn, but that is one type of feed reserve. The best feed reserve is grass on your land. Then he talks about having cash reserves for an emergency if, you know, one summer you don't really get any rain, like the southern United States. That happened to them this year in 2011. So the people that are going to be able to ride through that type of a difficulty are the ones that have the cash reserve. And then he also talks about doing a livestock inventory. So, you know, that's a good chapter. This chapter is really cool. Get the hay out and profits will follow. So this chapter talks about how feeding hay is unprofitable, why it's unprofitable, and what you can do about it, and how you will make more money if you get the hay out of the process. Genius, right? Then he talks about concentrate on the things on your farm that you can change, that you have control over. And I think that's really good. Sometimes we feel a little bit overwhelmed with all the things happening, but just concentrate on the things you can change. Following nature's model, basically using nature as a template, and your success will increase. So basically, you don't have a feedlot on your land because feedlots don't exist in nature. Talks about enterprises and Halon enterprises, and then centerpiece enterprises. I've talked about that a little bit, and I've broken it down in more detail in some previous episodes of the podcast, so just check those out. He talks about custom grazing, and custom grazing is really good and really cool for someone that's just getting started out, because first of all, you don't have to own the land, okay? You don't have to own the livestock, and you don't have to own a lot of the other expenses that come with it, like insurance and stuff like that. You don't have to own a trailer. You don't have to have a huge truck to pull everything around. So basically, you can get started up very cheaply. Now, Greg Judy has an entire book dedicated to custom grazing on leased land. And Allan just touches the tip of the iceberg here in this book, but nonetheless, it's insightful. Then in section 3, life, he talks about some real life stories about transitioning from, you know, if you're an older farmer or rancher, making that transition to selling your land to your son or daughter so they can continue on farming or ranching. That would be, this book alone, just for that, would be worth buying. Farming or ranching after 50, making room for your children. He talks about tools and toys, what the difference is between the two. You know, do you really need a brand new truck? Hey, you're gonna have to make that decision, but it's going to affect the profitability and the viability of your business. Wealth is found on the sunny side of the street. That's a cool chapter, similar to what I kind of talked about. But overall, really great book. Check this book out. It's really insightful. It's published by Green Park Press. I'll actually put a link to this in the show notes today. So definitely make sure you check this book out if you're concerned with finance, and just to get a new kind of perspective on things if you already have a lot of experience. So I will see you guys next week for another book review, and I hope you enjoyed that book review. And check out the link in the show notes, and I will see you guys next week. See you later.